So in June 2020, I had never made a single cocktail before. I had never taken any bartending classes. I had never achieved any bartending certification, and I had never worked a single day in a bar. Within just 1 year, I was already making better quality highball cocktails than the highball cocktails that my friends and I got when we went out to fancy bars and restaurants. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how I did that. For those of you who don't know, my name is Raman Virpin. I'm a full-time medical doctor, and I've been a home bartender for over 5 years now. During that time, I've learned how to make over 100 different cocktails, and I've thrown over 50 cocktail parties. And I teach other busy professionals how to make cocktails at home. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how I learned how to make high-quality cocktails, better cocktails than the ones I got when I went out to bars and restaurants. And I did it within just 1 year as a home bartender. And if you follow my exact step-by-step guide that I lay out in this video, then you'll be able to do that even faster than I did. Probably within just 3 to 6 months, you're already going to be making higher quality highballs than the ones that you get when you and your friends go out to bars and restaurants and things like that. So really, what does it take to make a high quality cocktail? I believe there are 3 main components. There are the ingredients, there's the equipment, and then finally there's the technique that you use to make the highball cocktail. And I'm going to be going over each one step by step. So first, let's start with the ingredients. So in order to make a high quality highball cocktail, you really need to have high quality sodas. And those are really represented by these 2 brands here. So these are my 2 favorite soda brands. This is Q Mixers, and this is exemplified by their grapefruit soda here. And this is Fever Tree, and it's exemplified by their blood orange ginger beer. And the reason both Q Mixers and Fever Tree are so good for home bartenders especially is for a number of different reasons. One is that they're ubiquitous. In the United States, you go to any Target, any Walmart, any regional grocery store, you go online to Amazon, you go to the Q Mixers and the Fever Tree websites, you can get these throughout the entire country. And even in some states like Nevada, where I live, you can also get them at liquor stores. And this is true not just in the United States, but I know it's true also in other parts of the Western world, like the Canada, EU, UK, Australia, for example. These places you can also get these readily available. The second reason these 2 soda brands are really high quality is that they are on the less sweet side. So, flavor profiles tend to, and people's palates tend to have changed over the years. I think that in the year 2025 and in the 21st century in general, people want cocktails to be not as overly sweet as they did perhaps in like the 70s or 80s or something like that. Both of these have a good amount of sugar to balance out your cocktails, but they do it without being overly sweet. And I think that leads to higher quality cocktails in general. And finally, the third reason is that they cover not just the core sodas, for example, tonic water, grapefruit soda, and ginger beer, but they also have fun variations. Q Mixers has a hibiscus ginger beer. As you can see right here, Fever Tree has a blood orange ginger beer. Fever Tree also has an elderflower tonic water. So when you're done with the the standard basic sodas, things like grapefruit soda, tonic water, or ginger beer, you can then experiment and get some of these more fun flavors. You can get a blood orange ginger beer. You can get an elderflower tonic water. You can get a hibiscus or tropical ginger beer and try out these variations on Moscow Mules and the variations on gin and tonics and things like that. So for a number of reasons, I think these are the 2 best soda brands that you have available to you, especially for things like grapefruit soda, tonic water, and ginger beer as well. There are a number of other sodas that you need for highball cocktails. One of the most important is just simple sparkling water. I think a couple of great brands for sparkling water are Topo Chico and San Pellegrino. And then a number of highball cocktails also called just for the standard commercial sodas. For example, things like the Long Island iced tea or the Cuba Libre called for cola, and something like the Tokyo tea, for example, calls for a lemon lime soda. So what you can do with that, I just tend to use the standard commercial brands, like I use Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola for colas, and I use Sprite or Starry for my lemon lime sodas. But one thing you can do to even make that more high quality is you can try to find the glass bottles. In America, we refer to them as something like Mexican Coke or Mexican Sprite, for example, because they're in glass bottles as opposed to plastic bottles or cans. And the reason the glass bottles are better is because they actually use real sugar as opposed to using high fructose corn syrup like the bottled or like the plastic bottle or the can versions. So whatever way you can find, try to find higher quality sodas. I listed several different examples here, but depending on what part of the United States or what part of the world you live in, or perhaps what type of cocktail you're making, you may not I may not have covered everything here. So if you have any further questions, please leave those down in the comments below and I'll try to get to them as soon as possible. So that covers ingredients. So the main part of the ingredients is going to be the sodas. Obviously for highball cocktails, you also need high quality liquors. And when applicable, you also need high quality citrus juice and high quality syrups. But the carbonated component is generally going to be over 50% of the cocktail by volume. And in a lot of cases, it's going to be somewhere around 2/3 of the cocktail by volume. So by far the most important ingredient in terms of quality that you want for your highball cocktails is going to be the soda water, whether that's actual just basic soda water or sparkling water, whether that's grapefruit soda, ginger beer, tonic water, Coca-Cola, Sprite, whatever the case may be. You want a high quality soda to then use in your cocktails because this comprises at least 50% of the drink, oftentimes somewhere closer to 2/3 of the drink. So that will cover, so we just went over ingredients. Now for the next part to making a high quality cocktail, first you need ingredients, and then second you need high quality equipment. And that's exemplified by these two things right here. So this is a really not necessary, but I think it'll really level you up in terms of making high quality highballs. This is a Collins ice mold or a Collins Spears ice mold, whatever term you want to use. Basically, they're giant rectangular prisms, and they basically fill up the length of this right here, which is the other piece of equipment. This is a Collins glass, also called a highball glass. And these are actually both from Cocktail Kingdom. The links will be in the description. This actually comes in a set of 6, but these are relatively common. You can find them through other companies that make glassware. You can probably find them at your local liquor store or local department store, something like that, where you can buy other glassware and things like that. This is more of a niche product. This is like I said, this is the Collins ice mold from Cocktail Kingdom, and what it does is let you make spears that are essentially giant. So they're the equivalent of the giant cubes I use for lowball glasses. These are the rectangular prisms that you use for highball glasses. And instead of having a bunch of smaller cubes stacked up in your highball glass, you can just have one of these giant spears, and it looks really impressive. When I serve these to guests, like friends and family at my parties, they're often very impressed by the ice that I use. And so that's just another way that you can go ahead and level up your cocktails. Again, it's not necessary to make high quality highballs, but when you really want to take the next step, or when you want to do something special for somebody, you're hosting a birthday party, you're hosting a housewarming, you're celebrating somebody's wedding anniversary or something like that, some big moment, you're celebrating somebody's job promotion, and you want to do something special for a friend, a coworker, a family member, whatever the case may be, go ahead and get them a nice, when you're making cocktails for them at that party, instead of giving them plastic cups or just your regular glassware, go ahead and give them a nice highball glass and use the special ice mold here to make the ice for that cocktail. It'll really impress not only the guest that has a drink, it'll impress essentially everyone there because they'll be impressed by the ice. And I know from experience because I've hosted over 50 of these parties before, and pretty much every time I use one of these Collins Spears to make ice for a drink, everyone that sees it is pretty impressed by the ice there. And even people that have seen it multiple times, like maybe it'll be the 3rd time they saw it or the 5th time they saw it, they'll still be impressed by that. So that's going to be the second way to really level up your highball making skills, is to use high quality ice and high quality glassware. And again, both of these are going to be linked in the description below this video. And finally, so we've already covered how to have high quality ingredients for your highballs and how to have high quality equipment to make your highballs. And finally, the third component of making high quality highballs is the actual technique itself. And I think that the technique that I use is rather unique. I've watched a lot of the other YouTubers I've watched a lot of the other bartending YouTubers. You know, I've read books on how to make cocktails. I've read articles online and things like that. And this is something that is quite rare, but I would say it's rather unique to me. And the technique that I use to make high quality highball cocktails is called the sandwich method. And the reason I call it the sandwich method is that it entails pouring half of the carbonated ingredient into the glass first, then you pour the other ingredients together, and then finally you put the other half of the carbonated ingredient on top of the other ingredients. So the carbonated ingredient, instead of being just layered on the top, or in some rare cases just layered on the bottom, it forms a sandwich. So you'll have half of it here and half of it here, and then the other ingredients are in the middle, and they form the meat and the vegetables and the other components of the sandwich. So basically the soda water or whatever the carbonated ingredient forms the bread of that sandwich, sandwiching everything in between. And the reason I find that so effective, and I have proof of this because when I started doing the sandwich method as opposed to before, I noticed that I was getting way more compliments from my friends and family when I was making drinks for them. So it's not just me that enjoy the cocktails more, but pretty much all of my friends and family that that I made cocktails for, they enjoy the cocktails far more when I use the sandwich method as opposed to when I didn't use the sandwich method. And the reason it's so effective, I believe, is because it allows for the incorporation of the carbonated ingredient, which mainly has bubbles, essentially, the carbonation. It allows that incorporation throughout the entire drink. When you do it the other way, where you either pour it just on the top or just on the bottom, it tends to layer and separate, where you get carbonated ingredient just at the bottom of the drink or just at the top of the drink. And this is a problem that I've noticed when I go out to restaurants or bars and I order something like a Cuba Libre, I order a gin and tonic, I order anything like a Long Island iced tea, for example, or a Moscow Mule or a Paloma, any of these cocktails, I notice that the carbonated ingredient just layers on either the top or the bottom of the drink. When you use the sandwich method, it gets incorporated throughout the entire drink. And of these three things, whether, using high quality sodas is important, using high quality equipment is important, but I would say by far the most important thing to do in order to make high quality highball cocktails is to use the correct technique, and that's going to be the sandwich method. That's the technique that has really taken my highball cocktail game to the next level, and that's what allowed me to make better quality highball cocktails. Within less than a year of home bartending, I was able to do that, make better quality highball cocktails than any bar or restaurant that I was going out to, with the exception of some of these super high-end cocktail bars. And that's something that not only I noticed, but also my friends and family noticed. When they got a Moscow Mule for me or a Paloma for me, for example, they would say that was better than the ones they got when they went out to bars and restaurants. Like I said, with the exception of the super high-end cocktail bars. So if you follow the techniques that I laid out in this video, if you use the high-quality ingredients, and especially in terms of the carbonated ingredient, the sodas that you're going to be using, if you use special equipment, especially when you're doing something for somebody or you're celebrating a special occasion, and you're using the special equipment here, the specific Collins ice molds and the Collins glasses. So if you do that, so high-quality ingredients, high-quality equipment, and then finally, if you use the proper technique, which is going to be the sandwich method, then if you follow this step-by-step guide and do all of these things, you yourself, just like I did, will be able to make higher quality highball cocktails than any bar or restaurant in your local neighborhood, any of the ones that you frequent. You'll be able to do that not just in a year or so like I did. You'll be able to do that within just 3 to 6 months if you follow this exact step-by-step guide. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video. Like I said, to summarize, in order to make high-quality highball cocktails, you really need three things. You need high-quality ingredients, especially the sodas. You need good quality equipment, especially the ice mold and the glasses. And then finally, you need the correct technique, which is the sandwich method. Remember, pour half the carbonated ingredient first, then the other ingredients, and then finally the second half of the carbonated ingredient to sandwich everything together and to allow for proper incorporation of the bubbles and the carbonation throughout the entire drink. If you follow these three pillars and follow these exact steps, like I said, you'll be able to make higher quality highball cocktails than any bar or restaurant within just a few years, within just a few months of being a home bartender. I would say probably somewhere around 3 to 6 months. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video. If you found the advice helpful, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I really like to do two styles of videos on this channel. One will be like this style, where I share stories and give guides and tips and tricks in order to help you guys become better home bartenders. And the second style of video will be tutorials where I go over how to make a specific cocktail. Thank you. Cheers.